I'm going to step in for Mark for a little bit. He's running a little bit behind. So I will go ahead and call this meeting to order on Monday, June 16th, 2025 for Finance Administration and Economic Development. You'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty. This meeting has been published in the compliance of FOIA. Sarah, we're good to go on that?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Number 4, can I have a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved.
And a second, please?
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion? Number 4 will be approved with no discussion. We will go into number 5, the approval of the minutes for May 19th, 2025. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved. I'll second.
Second, Tab, anything needed to be adjusted or updated?
No, sir, it was perfectly fine, thank you.
Any discussion for the approval of the minutes of May 19th?
Hey, Mark.
All right, can this be approved with no objection? And I see no objection, and Mark got lucky. I did all the hard part for him.
You can keep going. You don't leave me.
That's fine, you can do mine then. Here's 4 pages. We're gonna move on to the citizens comment period. Is there anybody, I did not have a list up here, but is there anybody that did not sign up that would wish to speak for citizens comment? Glad everybody's excited today. We will go ahead and close the citizens comment and move on to the Assistant County Administrator report. Pinky, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Like in your face.
Yeah, really. Is that good?
Perfect.
Okay. All right, in your packets are the year-to-date fiscal year 2025 budget report. We're going to go ahead and proceed with the first slide, which is general fund revenues. As you can see, we are about 97.8% collected on all of our revenues, 102, almost 3% for ad valorem. And all of our revenue categories. Slide 3, thanks, Sarah. Slide 3 is your general fund expenditures. As you can see, we're about 89% expended for the general fund. We're coming in a little low under general government. That's really about it. Public welfare is a little bit increased, but we're pretty close to being, we're about 90% spent for fiscal year 2025, and we still have at least another payroll and period 13 to finish up. So we'll have, I'm pretty sure we'll get close to 100% on that one. Next slide. Enterprise fund revenues. Solid waste, 72, almost 73%. Stormwater is at 65%. Beaufort Executive Airport is at 86%. And Hilton Head is at almost 95%. And the following slide is your general fund, enterprise fund expenditures. Solid waste, 95%. Stormwater is at 67, as well as Beaufort Executive, and Hilton Head Airport is about 80%. And any questions about the year-to-dates for general fund and enterprise funds? We don't have a meeting until July, so we're kind of like in a weird moment where we can only present up to now. All right, next is our budget transfer report. It is a 4-page report, as you can see, and I'm sorry I can't make that writing any bigger because there's so much activity going on across all of our funds, but you can see that our departments and our other funds are trying to clean up their line items in their department budget so that we can do a soft close by June 30. Sorry, it's small, but it is in your backup. Just to be clear, the second to the last column tab, I'm looking at you, is the account, is the balance in the line item that the funds were transferred from. We're going to look at making this a little simpler next fiscal year. I just continue doing the one that we were already doing, so hopefully you won't look at so many columns and it'll look a little bit easier. And the last column is the balance of the line item that the money is being transferred to. So that's the revised budget 2, just to be clear.
So, Mr. Chairman, the reason she's saying that, I looked at this, and if you look at the first one, it says revised budget from, it should just say remaining budget, right?
Right.
Because you're
Because
not
that's what
going from
changed,
that to
yeah.
that, yeah.
So the amount dropped by the amount to the left.
Yep.
But we will clean it up, it'll look a little bit easier for next fiscal year. Any questions other than that?
It's your show again, my friend.
Or if we're just gonna let you finish up?
He was about to.
I'm happy just sitting here. We're good.
You gonna ride out my 3-hour meeting with me?
It's, of course I will. Thank you, Pinky. Any questions for
Just
Ms.
a-
Harriet?
Just a few other updates that
Okay,
we
go ahead.
wanted to present. Currently, we are, now that the budget has passed, for fiscal year '26, we are preparing our digital budget book once again. It will be all web-based, online, so anyone in the general public.
Oh,
Just in case you didn't hear it the first time.
So we are preparing our digital budget book. Hopefully, we'll be ready to publish and launch it in July. We are also preparing a list of fiscal year '25 carryover POs that we're moving from fiscal year '25 into '26 so that we can continue and have a smooth transition for projects and purchases that were already in place. And then we are also doing a lot of cleanup on our general ledger, as you can see by the budget transfer report. We're preparing, finance is preparing for us to get into audit season, which kicks off right after we close the books. So, that's all I have for you today. Any other questions?
So when you close the books, any line item that's not expended just rolls back to the general fund?
To the fund balance.
It does not, yes, it does not go to their next year.
No.
Correct.
We start the new year fresh with what you just approved last Monday.
Just checking.
Good question. Anyone else? Ms. Harriet, thank you. You do a wonderful job. We appreciate all your hard work. I know what you go through here at the end of the year. Yes, exactly. So, all right, let's move on then. We have up Mr. O'Toole, who's Executive Director of Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation. And this is just a presentation for this coming year's plan for the upcoming fiscal year. And, Hank, you're going to go ahead and tee it up?
Introduction for
Yes.
John. This is something, as you all know, in the past kind of happened on a quarterly basis. For the last couple of years, John has expressed interest in doing so. A couple of administrators ago, that practice ended, so we wanted to kick it back off with an annual report and kind of get back in a rhythm of coming up here and showing you everything that's going on all the time.
Very good. I think that's a great idea.
thank you.
Mr. O'Toole, thank you for being here. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Council, for allowing me this opportunity. I have it's been a long time, in the words of the song, but it's been a long time since we've been before you to kind of give you an overview. So if I could, I'd like to tear through what we are working on. There are a lot of questions out there. My hope is that I've done well. This presentation would be a great piece for many people in the community to familiarize themselves with and understand our approach to economic development in Beaufort County and our willingness to look at ways of doing it. As I'm clicking buttons pretty quick, as you know, we really feature the quality of life here, the growing population, and of course the Marines, and then really providing a level of care to prospects as they come in. Here is the mission statement as it was laid out in 2017, and we've kind of refined it. Obviously, we take a very humble approach to it. We look at ourselves as the collaborator, not as the reason for the sun coming up or a deal being entirely done. Reasons that 46 counties in South Carolina have economic development organizations is because residents expect you to deliver services, and we're trying to build grand lists. And I'll show you where we are year to date, and I'll show you where we are since the council in 2017 put this together. Just by a show of hands, who was on the council in 2017? Okay, we have Alice, York, and Gerald, so you can fact check me as I go through this, okay? We have a great board. I have two of my board members last I checked, our chairman, Joel Braun, and Blakely Williams from Dominion. Joel's with PRTC. We're really blessed with the board, and for those of you who have come to our board meeting, we tend to jump into our mission, and our work process is really improved by the input of the board. And I'll say this because it was misquoted or paraphrased, and you really have to hear the whole thing to understand it. Our brand is humility, and hopefully anyone who has spent time with me can feel that. And when they spend time with our team, you feel that. With that said, we have a very talented team, and we're quite proud of the work we do. Hopefully pride is not a sin in this instance, but we believe we're very good at what we do. And if we're off track, and this is the other thing, so humility, doing great work, and also taking a page from the Blue Angels. At the end of a flight, they look at the attitude and altitude of the flight, and they fess up and fix it. And that's what we can do together working with you. Kelly Brunson and Brian Warner are great additions to our team. And then there are the three pillars that we market. You've been through the balance wheel. I think there's general buy-in in terms of what makes Beaufort special, and we think in terms of policy, and we have been surveying on this for 7 or 8 years, but we believe that these are the areas that we have to focus on in addition to just economic development, which we were hired for. Our targets remain clean and in check. We have the Converge Summit each year, and we check our premise that we have the right targets. And as a result of resident input, and we have about 450 people attend that conference. We survey them before, during, and after. We get some great ideas from residents as well. If you remember back in 2016, the realtors groups put together a session. I believe it was held at Sun City, and a lot of people showed up. And Bobby Hitt said, "What's going on, Beaufort? You're the 45 counties have economic development, and you're the one county that doesn't." And the mayors at the time said that we're a two-legged stool. We have hospitality and tourism and the defense industry that provide really good foundation, but it's like having two stocks in your personal portfolio. You'd want to have a more diverse portfolio. So the mayors encouraged the county at the time. This is where our longstanding council members can check me on fact, but they got together and asked the council at the time, let's do this. Now keep in mind, and you've seen articles in the paper in the last week, that the funding of the towns was never the lion's share. The funding came from the county. And so we've tried to really listen to county leaders when we're in your district, doing projects in your district. The month before I was hired and we started the Economic Development Organization, Beaufort County entered into a 3-year agreement with the Southern Carolina Alliance, largely to market the county. And the bylaws were adopted in 2017, and then I was hired on October, my first day was October 21st, 2017. So it's a little background. Again, the towns participated. They kind of were the wind to get it going. They kind of caused the collaboration. The lion's share, keep this in mind when we get to the end and we're looking at a scorecard. So over the years, over these 8 years, you've provided just over $2 million in funding of our operation. And I want you to hold on to that number because I want you to look at spending $2 million and what you got in the way of return. Because to me, economic development, I've said it many times, is not just activity. It's not just neat trips that the executive director goes on or the staff goes on, but it's results. And then we'll show you grants from outside agencies, grants to companies, and then private donations. And put Brian on the spot, but that's his job, is to step that up next year to make up for gaps. So, but we're all working on it together. If you look at economic development in Beaufort County, I think there are like four prevailing winds, if you will, or forces at play: housing development, commercial retail development, the green penny, and the desire to keep our important environmental lands pristine, and then economic development. As you know, you go to community meetings, and as soon as somebody has their house built in Beaufort County, they say, put up the gate and don't let anyone else build. But economic development, and I quote a gentleman who used to do it in Oconee County, Richard Blackwell, that when economic development's done well, it changes the branches in family trees. The reason we want to look at economic development, whether it's in Levico or the Beaufort Commerce Park or a pocket site on Hilton Head, is because future generations aren't where they don't start their lives where you are in your life right now. People need to create wealth so that they can enjoy the later, provide for their family in a dignified way, and also retire in a dignified way. Product plan, and this has gotten a lot of attention. I'll cover Parker Drive, which we just completed that purchase. The next slide, I'll explain some of the thinking on that. We are about to close on Levico, and we actually, through Dominion, were able to reduce the cost of that property by 10% using utility tax credits. So we've done a very good job with great partners in reducing the cost of our efforts to residents. South of Whale Branch, that's on the radar. But as you know, when we looked at Chilton, if something's not a good fit for Beaufort County, we can walk away from it as well. Right now, south of the Whale Branch, we're evaluating that, and because that's in Gerald's district, we keep them apprised on all our thinking there. Out on St. Helena, we have a project out there. We've already received a $1 million grant from the state. Should we go ahead with that project? And that was discussed in a lively discussion at our board meeting, probably about 4 months ago. And towards that end, we'll have some community meetings end of July. We're looking at a pocket parcel out on Hilton Head, and staff, Kelly Brunson's working very diligently to try to overcome some obstacles in getting a second spec building built in the Commerce Park. What I thought I would do, if you would be so inclined, and not to take a page out of Mayor Williams where he takes you on a magic carpet ride, but I'd like to fly over Beaufort County and show you all the different areas we're working in. And we'll start on Parker Drive because people have raised questions on our knowledge of the market and what we paid for that. When I spoke to council, I may have misspoke, and I want to clarify that. The owner wanted $36,000 for it. We had an appraisal that said it was worth $25,000 an acre per acre, 36 versus 25. We got the owners to agree to sell it for the 25. But then when we did our due diligence, we went out there. We had Thomas and Hutton. Do I have the right engineering firm? I do. We had Thomas and Hutton go out there and look at the site. If we took the entire 18 acres, we would have created stormwater issues for the resulting property for the company we were trying to help, which is Geismar North America. And so we scaled back the size of the property to 14.77 acres instead of 8.25 acres. And so we did that with confidence. So that moved our cost up to $31,000. We did that with confidence, and I'll tell you, our confidence was proven as late as last Tuesday afternoon. If you look at it, let's just see if I can do this. I don't know if I can. I drink a lot of coffee. But this stretch right along here, we have 31 acres. On Tuesday of last week, we had a company come in. That would be those parcels that start here with 10, go 26, 44, 66, and...
John, can you use that screen over there?
What's that?
It works on it. Council can see that screen there. It works.
Okay, so these parcels, 10, 26, 44, 66, and 90, which is great because I can read these. We have an offer on those 31 acres for $40,760. This parcel is 2,520 feet from the Parker Drive parcel. So all of that said, I just hope that the council has confidence that we understand the market. We also have a second proposal to buy a 5-acre parcel here at the corner of Shork and Schwartz in the Commerce Park for $40,000. So we know the market in that area is $40,000. To help people, and again, back to the fess up and fix it, I'm doing that today. But what I'm also telling you is that we're, Kelly's pulled the trigger on having a updated appraisal on those parcels, and we'll think we'll even get higher than the 40,000. So that's where we're at today. If you go to continuing to fly through the park, we have a potential contribution of between $1 and $2 million to help us get out of the ground on this site. We had a meeting on Friday with the stormwater engineers and town planner or city planner for the city of Beaufort. So we have 2 proposals to build a second spec building in the Commerce Park for 72,000 square feet. Going down the road, Brian Warner is working with a company out of Maine on 302 Parker Drive, a $17.2 million investment, 161 jobs. Average comp is 56,980, and that would absorb 83,000 square feet that are vacant today. So that, on the call, they said to Brian, we're coming to Beaufort. We're not counting this yet. This project is not counted in any numbers that you'll see today. Many of county staff and council people in April were out to TL & Co. The reason I have this up there is I'm not rehashing a project you already know about, but what you need to know is staff working with Hank Edmondson are continuing to process their grants and get them through the process. So an announcement isn't the end of it. And in South Carolina, the Department of Commerce has a tagline that says from launch to legacy. Thank you. I was going to say from birth, but from launch to legacy. So we have to take care of these companies as we go through it. When we look at Labico, interesting things that we're looking at is land-based fisheries, and we met with a company in the Netherlands. This is an example of a facility they're building in Maine, but we think this could be viable up in Labico. Again, we're not committed to it. We are going to cautiously meet with the Department of Ag. We're going to meet with our environmental friends to go through that process. We've also had people come to us and say they'd like to put a meat processing plant there. And potentially, we might be able to work with the county and the engineering staff to put a mulch or a composting facility up there. These are just ideas. This isn't in stone. At Whale Branch, we are working with a developer who wants to develop a housing development up there that's going to come before council. We're not married to it. We are not endorsing it, but we're helping the person through the process. And if they are successful, there could be 62, or if they're unsuccessful, 270 acres that we can work with Rob Merchant and his staff to master plan for the county in the future. Out on St. Helena, we have been working closely with staff and with York Clover on the prospects of a marketplace in the Corners area, a cultural center. Towards that end, by putting that kind of energy out there, we have an international philanthropic investor who's going to be meeting with us on June 30th to go over what the prospects are in Beaufort County, not just Gerald's district, but throughout Beaufort County. And we have a planned community meeting, hopefully the last week of July. As we discussed at our board meeting, we wouldn't go forward with this unless there was consensus in the community to have such a project. Out on St. Helena, worth noting, they are in the midst of The Gay Fish Company are in the midst of investing $3.8 million. Keep in mind, this project could be replicated in Port Royal as well. We're able to, working with our friends at the Department of Ag, deliver a $500,000 grant to help them with this project. But this is, we talk about, and I got it in my head now, launch to legacy. 75 years, this is a legacy company, and a lot of your constituents want to know that economic development's not just trying to get the shiny, bright thing out there, but we're taking care of the piece of our economy that's been here for generations. In Port Royal, you saw their funding decision in the last few weeks. We'll continue to work on this. We think the same magic that approach that we took with the Gay Fish Company, we can get that to work in Port Royal. Throughout the spring, I've been on calls with one of 3 developers that have proposed sites in Beaufort County. And towards that, Monday after Monday after Monday, all spring, even from overseas, at 2 p.m. Eastern time, we were on a call with one of the developers who wanted to get the temperature of Beaufort County. We expect a decision on that, or we're told that that could happen by the end of September. And that would be the first domino to fall that could have us collectively looking at the redevelopment of the Naval Hospital. And then we're working with SCA and the USDA to look at a retail strategy. So if that gets funded, we'll be able to provide some assistance to Port Royal. South of the Broad, and we do not think of Beaufort County as south or north, it's all Beaufort to us. I'm still north of the Broad here. At the Southern Carolina landing pad, SkyDrive has renewed its lease at 500 Carteret. We have two new Japanese companies that are going to be taking up residents in the landing pad. And we're going to work with William Fugate, who brought SkyDrive here, to identify much larger companies that are considering it. On Wednesday, we have lunch with one of the new companies there. We're under a non-disclosure agreement, pretty serious non-disclosure agreement, but a very innovative aerospace, has 2 engineers working at the landing pad. And this company's California-based, but they're recruiting engineers from Boeing and from Gulfstream. So what better place to be than Beaufort County? So our landing pads are relevant and are starting to gain some speed. Now I'm going south of the Broad. And we worked on this project, and again, to give attribution, the Southern Carolina Alliance and our organization worked on this lead together, but CS Instrument, a German company, is building that plywood building you see there. And they are going to establish their U.S. headquarters here. And we have a second German company looking at Bluffton as well. At Buckwalter, and I jumped ahead of myself, but oftentimes calls come into us that are not in our sweet spot in terms of diversifying the economy. But in this case, we were able to introduce a hotel, 4-star hotelier, to a developer on Buckwalter, and those conversations are progressing. The Don Ryan Center for Innovation, and think about it, it's not what you pay us to do, but it gets done and the person has a good experience and the quality of product and grand list grows in Beaufort County. The Don Ryan Center, we continue to keep space there as well as the digital corridor here at Beaufort, but they like the landing pad concept so much, they're replicating it north of the Broad, and that'll be a south of the Broad, I'm all confused, but south of the Broad, in Bluffton on Buckwalter, and you can see that facility in the lower left is coming out of the ground. And then within that area, we haven't incentivized all of these healthcare projects, but there's $400 million worth of healthcare projects coming out of the ground in that vicinity. And in some cases, we've done economic impact studies for them. In some cases, we've provided demographic information, but we play some small role. Continuing to fly around the county, And I think I only have 2 more stops, so thanks for enduring this. But when we get to the north end of Hilton Head, we have been working with the administration staff on Hilton Head to look at what we've learned about tax credits, maybe to fill in that gap and get projects like this one or throughout the county from no to go. And so we'll work on that. Then we have a 18,000 square foot healthcare facility that could come out of the ground on the classic motor site. The town leaders wanted a impact study to just see if their approach to public policy made sense, and Kelly Brunson, working with Clemson, provided that report to them. This one, Project Cloud, we have spoken about it. $23 million project, close to 24, 51 jobs, averaging 80,000 a year, 99,000 square feet, 5,000 of that would be a new FBO. We've had a lease from the developer since September 15th of last year. And since I've been here, I've tried to emphasize simple, swift, and certain. We've got to get them an answer, yes or no, so that, and for the town's purposes, for the county's purposes, and for the investors' purposes. Just so you know, and this is a good time to underscore it, on this project we had numerous meetings with Palmetto Hall and with Port Royal neighborhoods. And it emphasizes the fact that we've done 75 projects throughout Beaufort County over these 8 years, and we've not been out of step with neighbors or with environmentalists. And so that is remarkable. We had great meetings with the neighbors on that one. On Dillon Road, we're looking at a 4-acre site, and we look to work with the South Carolina Power Team and Palmetto Electric to cobble together the funds to get that project moving, and we may use site and job funds, and if we do, that will come back to you. And I fibbed, I have 2 more stops, but I did stop here yesterday. Sometimes people look at our breweries and say, I stopped there for the pictures, but I did have a blonde,
Sure.
I did have a blonde ale as well,
Okay, yeah.
and 6 wings. But it's not a hospitality and tourism project. As you can see in the lower right, there's heavy equipment and the ingredients. We look at these breweries as manufacturing, and they are a nice complement to hospitality and tourism, no doubt. So we worked with Legends Brewery. We introduced another hotelier that's well through their due diligence stage, a $75 million project on the south end of Hilton Head, and more to come on that as it becomes public. And then this last one kind of goes full circle, if you will. So the administrator and Hank Edmondson were out talking to folks on Defusky about, you can guess what, but a lot of things. And it came up that they have an investor that's looking at investing tens of millions of dollars on Defusky. As part of that project, we can close that loop and get them interested in that spec building that was early on this flight over Beaufort County. So that's kind of how things come full circle. Just as we look at the year ahead, continue to execute, and I'll show you how we can coordinate that with you, grow the landing pad and global outreach, workforce and infrastructure support, partnering with the towns, and you read the papers lately, we've got to do a better job there. Part of fessing up and fixing it. Leveraging site development and job creation funds, and I'll show you what the track record is on that. Better leverage our investments with the Southern Carolina Alliance, SCA, and another heavy lift for Brian. He meets with 90, this year he met with 83 companies as of today. Next year he'll meet with 90 companies. We keep data on that so that we have a CRM database, and hopefully some of the input we get there can inform good public policy at the town and the county level, and perhaps even the state. So as we look at what we booked this year, and sometimes people, you'll look at a project we have on one of the screens, and I probably glazed over it, but out at the Commerce Park, we have a project laundry that's coming out of the ground. You probably saw the structural steel. They're investing $35 million. Great for the grand list. The average comp, people are concerned about the quality of jobs. So this year we're averaging $74,000 per job. And as we look at ESRI, the median income last we looked said that the average income in median income in Beaufort County is $41,000. So real estate absorbed is 122,000 square feet, and incentives to companies. And incentives are low. That just means that we've done projects not with Commerce, but that project Sunspot that Brian's working on, the $17 million project, the incentive package on that one alone is $7.5 million. So those numbers will jump, but we're just not counting that yet. Since inception, we're nearing $1 billion, 3,000 jobs, average comp 60,000, absorbed or new real estate 1.5 million, and incentives to companies. And Chairman Howard, I see you writing. We'll make sure you get this. Every council member can get a copy of this, and we're hopeful the public will want to see this as well. Now, probably last question, and I hope I haven't exceeded either your interest level or your time expectation, but it's worth looking at the use of site funds, right? We use them to incentivize companies. So this will be in the PowerPoint. Every company, their investment, jobs created, jobs retained, average comp, new job equivalent. So if we take that median income of 41,000, divided into the actual comp, we make them up with a different calculation of how you measure a FTE, a full-time employee. And so in the 18 months, and this is an eye chart, I apologize for that, but I summarize it. And we do it for every year that we've been in existence. And so this is what it boils down to. In the 18 months prior to our formation, there were $5 million worth of investments across 2 projects that were economic development identified. Nearly $1 million of incentives and 72 jobs created. In the 8 years that we've been doing this, we've incentivized $277,000 worth of investments. $277,000.
Million.
Thank you. That's why I have a talented staff. Thank you. And my dad was a math teacher, which makes it even more shocking. And so we incentivized those projects by 1.4 million of the site and job funds, creating 1,000 jobs. Now, what does that add up to? That means that in the 18 months prior to our formation, you used $19.30, or the county did, used $19.35 per $100 invested to incentivize the project. If you look at our use of your funds, the site and job funds, we have been averaging 50 cents per $100 of investment. Now let's look at jobs. If in the 18 months you created 72 jobs with nearly $1 million, that's $13,000 per job you pay to incentivize. And I'd like to think we're conservative, myself and my staff, even though I can't read $1 million number. But we are averaging $1,300 per job. Now keep in mind, I'll jump back a couple of slides. The actual numbers in jobs were much higher. We don't incentivize every job. We don't incentivize every dollar that came in. So our actual numbers, I could report them as being lower. Now, are we perfect? No. Do we work really hard? Yes. And towards making sure we do a better job, what I'm suggesting today is that we have a facilitated strategic session where we invite all of the towns and the county officials, staff, and interested residents, and go through a strategic planning process where we reaffirm our goals, we solidify the alignment with if we're out of step, and to be real honest, as we spoke about different things that we've incentivized even in the last 3 months, it appeared we're out of step. So I think we do have to have that conversation. And then if we do that, we can clarify the use of site and job funds. And then also we can evaluate results, make sure we're focused, make sure we have future funding and align the use of those funds. So that is kind of what I have for you today, and I'd be happy to take questions. I really do appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Thank you.
Mr. O'Toole, thank you. A very, very good presentation, very thorough. We appreciate that. Any questions from this committee?
Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Go ahead, Paula, and then Tab.
I'm happy to hear that's going to be a hotel in Bluffton. Do you know, can you tell us approximately where that's going to be? Where those might be going in? The four-star
You're
hotel?
on my board, and
Yeah.
we can cover that in
Okay.
executive session.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'd be happy to.
All right,
I will.
yeah.
I'll make sure.
I'm
it's
excited
on the
about that, though.
agenda.
We needed one of those
we
for a
just
long
don't-
time.
We just don't want
What are you looking at me like that for?
Because you don't know where it's at.
Oh, I don't, oh, you're right, I don't.
Do you?
Okay.
I could assume.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
good. We'll get, we'll.
Well, it won't be good for
we'll
your
make sure
business?
you're, council.
Okay, anyway,
Councilman
okay,
Brown,
thank
we'll
you.
make sure
And thank you
you're
for coming.
informed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Taberner?
I have a couple questions, please. You just said that we found we are out of step with what was incentivized in the last couple of months. Give me an example. I'm
Yes, yeah,
repeating what you said.
yes. And I was thinking of you as I said
I
this.
knew you were.
On the nursing grant that we provided, it was very clear that we misunderstood what you were communicating to
But we did give them the money?
us. Yes, yeah, it was approved.
I understand. Do you think that's an appropriate, you took that from the Site and Job Fund, right?
Yes,
And you thought that was an appropriate use of that funding?
yes.
Okay, well, we'll disagree on that one. So you mentioned St. Helena, you have $1 million received, and on the slide it said cultural heritage development. Is that from the study that was done by the county 2 years ago?
No,
What is that for?
that, we were able to receive and staff's gonna help me, but it's on the slide, but we received $1 million grant from the Parks, State
Oh,
Park.
I know from the state, but I mean, what's the project you're looking at there?
The project would be hopefully for an entrepreneurial center on St. Helena, along with the cultural arts center.
And if I recall correctly, the study on the Performing Arts Center, Cultural Arts Center, has it at a deficit for 10 years, each year, at least $250,000. So I'm just wondering why we're looking at that, but okay, that's my question.
Do you want it answered?
Sure, go ahead.
I would say that you have one study, you have one opinion. If we're able to meet with philanthropic entrepreneurs that want to invest in that, should we not continue that conversation? And I'll say this, that whether it's Mitchellville or a great restaurant, a great shrimp shack out near Fripp Island, if you have something that attracts people, they will go there. If you have something of quality, people will find it. And so I think of a lot of things. I think of beach renourishment. When do you probably get paid back on that, but on roads, on different transportation projects, what's the return on that? And I do think that there are parts in this county that have never gotten their fair share of a real opportunity for economic opportunity. And I think I have shown, or our organization has shown, that if we're wrong, as we were with the property up in Yamasee, we can hit reverse. But we're really enthusiastic about trying to improve people's lives in Beaufort County. And if we can do that by exploring this, and we could, let's just say, and I don't mean to put anyone on the spot, but if Magic Johnson or an Oprah or the person I'm going to meet on June 30th is interested in making this viable, I'd like to explore it in my lifetime.
Making it viable to build, but what about long-term, the cost to the county? That's my concern. That's where I'm bringing it up. It's fine to have an entrepreneur build it, and then there's a cost to the county, which they paid for a study. I wasn't on council when it was paid for, but it showed 2 years ago a deficit of at least $250,000 every year for 10 years. So it's fine for someone to build it, but then it becomes a county asset.
But
that
that-
we're responsible for.
But that's not a definite. That's one consultant from, I believe, Chicago's opinion. I will say this, I was in the county chambers, in the building next door, when Councilperson Howard asked, what is the stormwater gonna cost on a development at the intersection of 170 and 278? Of which the county agreed to pay 50% of the stormwater costs. And they said, that's a great question. Though they didn't answer it, and they voted unanimous to fund the stormwater on a private development south of the Broad. I don't know the outcome, but I would like to pursue the question to see if it's viable. I met with, I think it was Johnson Associates on that as they did their study, but I've read the study. That's their opinion, but there are a lot of things we do in this county where there's not a clear rate of return, yet we pursue them. And I do think we have enough visitors that if on St. Helena, they were able to create a viable product, people would make the drive.
And my last question is, you mentioned that you will better leverage your relationship with SCA, which for the public, we pay $120,000 membership. How will you specifically better leverage your relationship with SCA?
That's a good question.
I know.
And keep in mind, it's not just the 120,000. They also are funded by our affiliation $180,000 or thereabouts in Proviso Fund. So they are getting $300,000 in Beaufort County taxpayer dollars today. You're in public policy. I've been in public policy for, it feels, a lifetime. When you pay somebody, you expect them to do a job. And you were at a Economic Development Corporation meeting where that uncomfortable conversation was asked. And it's really uncomfortable. We could ignore the fact that they're not marketing very well for us. But we asked a question and it got a little volatile. Our chairman, Joel Braun, is on SCA's board. He's had follow-up conversations with John Fleming, and they're now talking about how to take kind of the knowledge that Kelly Brunson has, that our counterparts in other counties have, as well as our consultant at Mindflin, to make sure. And think of this, and I'm glad you asked the question. Click on SCA's website and find one mention of Beaufort County and what our value proposition is. And when you're on their website, you'll see the names of all the counties. You would expect that you could hit on Allendale or Barnwell or Bamberg, and we'll forget about Beaufort for a second, but you would be able to hit on those counties and find out where they are relative to the world, what makes them special, what you're marketing about them. So the fact that we're in the predicament we are right now, 8 years later, is very confusing. But we have taken, and I've worked with 8 different administrators, and I'm not even at 8 years. I'm confident. I have great confidence in Hank Adamson as an extension of your administrator, Mike Moore, that we're going to have a good, healthy conversation. We're not going to leave that laying around any longer. So it's a difficult conversation. We're going to do it as constructively as possible. But I'm glad you asked, because you are paying $120,000, and what would the taxpayers think if you paid for something and received very little in return?
And that was kind of my impression that I got from that meeting. So that's why I was asking specifically, how can we leverage our money to get a better payback?
Yeah, and our chairman, Joel Braun, will approach that along with Mike Moore and Hank Adamson, and hopefully Kelly Brunson, who has great expertise in marketing, so that we can do it constructively. I hate to answer a question like that in public, but the public has a right to know that we're pushing to get the taxpayers of Beaufort the best possible marketing they could expect for $120,000.
That's what I want to hear. Yeah, it's public's money. Yes.
It's safe to say that some of us on council know the story behind us being a part of the SCA Alliance. The council, before some of you, we were not in an alliance, and we were encouraged and more or less told, forced
Bullied, really?
by
Yes.
state,
Yes.
by state influence, that we become a part of an alliance, and it was suggested that we join the SCA, so that we could draw down money from the state to help us in the process of economic development. So we can't push that off on John. We're in that alliance because of state influence. And I just want all of us to be aware of that. John, let me say this. I thank you for you and your staff for your hard work and initiative to actually continue bringing economic development jobs to Beaufort County. That's what when I came on the county, that's what that was my platform. I served on the government committee for council, and we stood up the Economic Development Corporation, and we then brought you in as the director. And since then, we have been progressing, making progress. Prior to that, we weren't doing anything economically, as far as economic development was concerned. So it was mentioned earlier about we, the county, we were actually operating off of tourism and real taxes, property taxes, two-legged stool. And so economic development is that third leg that is actually causing the county now to see prosperity in a different view. Going back to the Labico project, we bought two pieces of property a couple months ago, and I'm hoping that you can get us going either on those two property or in the Labico Park in general, where the old chemical plant used to be. We need to do something in there in short order, and I'm not saying we just try and put anything in there. We need something that's really valuable, but we need to do something in there because we're entering into the summer months of fishery, and we had the issue prior to many of you all coming on council. Alice, you might have remembered. York, you might have remembered. We had the issue of dealing with the jelly ball folks operating out of that property, and it was a detriment to our waterways and to our fisheries. And so the way that it's zoned industrial, and so we still have the possibility of those folks coming back, and we can't deny them because of the zoning. So it's incumbent upon us to get projects going in that park so that those folks doesn't have a place to actually, a viable means of coming back and causing more headaches for us.
And towards that end, Kelly Brunson was on the phone with our environmental engineer. The person at DES that would approve our voluntary cleanup contract that kind of draws the line in terms of our liability for pollution is out until the end of next week, but we should have the VCC on the 117-acre site. The 93-acre site, which is the more problematic site, they do not want to sell. So our environmental engineers have, using Freedom of Information, are trying to get all that data so that we can work with Hank and Mike to put pressure on them through policy to clean that property up.
All right, good. We,
I have one more thing.
all right, real quick, because again, we're got another 3 o'clock meeting here, so go ahead.
I need to say this, and I appreciate Mr. O'Toole coming before us today with his presentation and including St. Helena in there. And I just want to say that Mr. O'Toole, when he first got on payroll, he came to my community, he met in a local restaurant with groups of community leaders, farmers, ministers, etc. And John made a commitment to this group. He said, I don't know what we can do on St. Helena, but I will commit to doing something, and John has kept that. And part of that, because of the nature of St. Helena, we are focusing on the cultural aspect of St. Helena, and part of that cultural aspect is the Cultural Events Center, but it's not the single project. It is a part of a greater picture, and I think John is working, will be working with the community. We're going to present this to the community, and we're going to bring forth something, a complete package to define exactly what that economic project would be. But the Cultural Event Center will be a hub, but it's not all of it. It's more to it than that. So I just want to say that. And I thank you, John, for keeping St. Helena in your windows.
All right, Ms. Brown,
We'll
last,
just
go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. We need to get on. Well, we'll discuss this at the next board meeting.
And-
Okay, and if
Okay.
you'd like, just give me a holler. And
Okay.
if any council person has a question, here's something zany, feel free to call me and I'll try to clear it up, or
We-
at least provide you my perspective.
Good. Great job today. We look forward to having you back on a quarterly basis.
Really appreciate it.
And
Thank
obviously,
you.
hopefully you've seen this council push forward to get you what you need. So again, I'm not perfect. You're not perfect.
Correct.
But again, we're here,
None of
and
us
you've
are.
done a great job. And again, you have proved, as you mentioned, integrity earlier. You have come forward and you've said what you're going to do, and you've done it, which we appreciate that. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, let's move on then. We have two more things on our agenda to cover, and let's go on to number 9, and request to purchase one LT40 or comparable bucket truck for traffic management from a staff-approved vendor. And this was something that came before us previously. That truck was then sold. We couldn't get it.
that's why.
So again, this is coming back up again. This is written in a way that if we pick this truck, if we can get it, great. If not, we still can move on to the next vehicle. So I'd like to have someone make a motion for us to.
I'll make a motion, Mr.
All right.
Chairman.
I'll
Thank you.
second that.
Second, and is there any more discussion regarding this? Seeing no discussion, we're going to approve this without objection. I see no objection. Let's then move on to number 10, which is the same thing, except for the second truck. One was for traffic management, and the second one is for facilities management. Can I ask someone to make a motion for us to move forward with this?
So moved.
All right, thank you. Is there a
I'll second it.
second? Thank you. Any discussion on this?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The AIS, and my computer went down, the AIS does not indicate how much money is available in the account. And these three items come up to, I don't know, 200 and something $1,000. I want to make sure there's available funds in the account.
And just the note, yes.
Yes, down under fiscal impact.
I'm sorry, what?
There's 423,480.
As of,
Yeah, but that's for each one, and there's three of them, and so
there's just, good.
I lost my AIS there.
Each of the current trucks that we have quoted from
Correct.
the manufacturer are $170,000, $155. Those are the current quoted trucks. We have the previous quoted trucks that were sold. Both have purchase orders, so they are encumbered in the budget. They were $188,893. So with your approval today, those two existing purchase orders will be voided or canceled, and then two new purchase orders will be put into place for this amount. And the difference of those two vehicles is the current account balance, which is like $47,000. That's where your total account balance of that $423,480.26 comes from. So they're both covered.
All right, any more questions or discussion? All right, can we approve this without objection? And, good.
Also, just a reminder, back earlier this fiscal year, you did a $3.3 million budget amendment to bring from fund balance into this fund. This is a part of that. These two vehicles were approved in that transaction.
All right, good. So we'll pass this without objection. Seeing no objection, it passes. And if there's nothing else to come before this committee, we will adjourn and
305.
Wow.
3:05.
We'll be back. at
Thank you.
5.
3:05 is 2:56. Oh,
Not
is
like
it 2?
those.